Go ahead.
So summer is fast approaching and it's swimsuit season, but what many of you may not know is that the culprit preventing you from your swimsuit body may be lurking in your morning muffin. Trans fats come from an industrial process where liquid vegetable oil is boiled with hydrogen and becomes a solid fat, and trans fats are cheap and they add texture, flavor, and add to the shelf life of many processed foods. But it comes at a really big cost to your body. It really wreaks havoc on your arteries and damages your heart. And it's a really big public health issue. So I'm going to explain to you guys the negative effects of trans fats and give you some tips on how to avoid consuming them. So first of all, trans fat is terrible for your body, and it is really bad because it kind of stages a double attack on your cholesterol, because it, according to Harvard School of Public Health, it increases your level of LDL, which is low density lipoprotein, and that's bad cholesterol, while at the same time it decreases your level of high density lipoprotein, which is your good cholesterol. And your good cholesterol is responsible for finding the bad cholesterol and trucking it to your liver for disposal. So because it does this, it basically is a huge drain clog in your arteries. And this double attack, this drain clog, really puts a lot of pressure on your heart, and it causes heart disease, stroke, and diabetes. And a study by Harvard School of Public Health showed that if we cut trans fat out of our diet, it could prevent 1 in 5 heart attacks and related deaths, which means that it would save 250,000 lives in the US alone. Now, for those of you who are more visual learners, let's talk about belly fat. Trans fat gives you belly fat. And in 2006, researchers at Wake Forest University found that trans fats really do increase the amount of fat around your belly. They did an experiment where they took 51 monkeys and they fed them a diet of 35% fat, and they split them into two groups. Half of the monkeys, out of the 35% fat, 8% of that fat was trans fat, while the other group of monkeys, the same 8%, they fed them monounsaturated fats, which are healthy fats like avocados and olive oil. And what they found was after 6 years, the monkeys that were fed trans fat increased their body weight by 7.2%, while the monkeys who were fed the monounsaturated fats only increased their body weight by 1.8%. And what was even more alarming was that the monkeys who were fed trans fat increased their abdominal fat by 30% more. This meant that not only did all the extra fat they gained go to their belly, but it meant that fat that had been in other parts of their body actually redistributed to the stomach. And really the monkeys should have gained any weight because the diet was calorie controlled. Though it was 35% fat diet, they were still consuming the same amount of calories, and logically they shouldn't have gained weight. But not only did they gain 7.2% of their body weight, they also got it all in their stomach area. So now that I've explained two really adverse effects of trans fat, I'm going to go through some tips on how to avoid consuming trans fat in your everyday diet. According to WebMD, if a product contains less than 0.5 grams of trans fat, companies aren't required to list it. As of January 1st, 2006, companies have to list trans fat, but it could say 0 grams if there's less than 0.5 grams in a serving. But as we all know, lots of times many of us have more than one serving of a certain product, or we'll have things throughout the day that have a lot, all have less than 0.5 grams of trans fat, so we think we're getting 0, but actually we're getting a small amount of trans fat, and even a small amount of trans fat is really bad for your body. It's like if you took a Swiss watch and put like a tiny grain of sand in it, eventually it's gonna like work its way into the whole mechanism of the watch, and like the watch is gonna stop working. It's the same with trans fat. Even a little bit is so bad for your body. It could really change your whole, the whole way your body works, and it can make you like insulin resistant and cause diabetes. So you really have to be careful. And so checking the amount of trans fat is really not enough. You really need to check the ingredient list for partially hydrogenated oil or shortening, which are both forms of trans fat. And if it can't be avoided, like if there's something that you love, then at least try to find a product that lists those ingredients like towards the total end of the ingredient list, because ingredient lists are made by how much a product is composed of a certain nutrient. Also, when you're at restaurants, it's hard because you don't have nutrition facts, but then try to avoid eating anything fried, because most restaurants today will use trans fats to fry their French fries and their onion rings, because, as I said, it is really cheap and it makes food taste good. Also, avoid commercially prepared baked goods, you know, like muffins and bagels and cookies, because a lot of them are made with margarine, which is almost like pure form of trans fat. And by doing this, we could really take control of our health, because we all have the power to make the right decisions. And while trans fat tastes great and it's cheap, we really incur the costs with our health and our bodies. So it's cheap for our wallets, but not so cheap for our health. So it's really imperative that we all try to cut trans fat out of our diet, because I don't think that anyone wants to look like this on the outside and this on the